these days, for me, the real challenge of art is just kind of like getting it written down and explaining my ideas and process, because that's what people really care about nowadays in like the bigger art market. They're more interested in like the philosophy and the meaning behind your piece, which is kind of like something that's happened because of the modern art movement. Like artists definitely had to become
that's probably
philosophers
an
recently.
aspect, but like just the art itself is like that's the main appeal, and then there's the philosophy.
Well, isn't it weird that just like that seems more narrow-minded than it used to be, even though the idea is
That's
to
always how
expand
it's
it.
been.
But that's so crazy because art is like it's up for interpretation entirely.
If you take an art history class, that's exactly how it is. They just like go through the philosophy of these pieces.
The idea that art is up for interpretation is a relatively new idea in the history of art as well. Like, yeah, it started with like the impressionistic movement and the kind of movement where you were allowed to be more free flowing with the strokes. Because before that, art was seen as kind of like a blue collar job almost. Like you had a skill, you were a tradesman. The royals and people with money hired you to create these portraits and paintings because you were the only one who could do it. Like cameras weren't around. When cameras came around is when painting and drawing really was able to get more free and expressive.
That makes sense.
And you were always allowed to express yourself. Like, look at the Goya paintings of that guy who's eating his son, the really famous one. Like the Goya torture paintings. Those were very expressive. But
Editor, let's get the Goya paintings up.
yeah, let's put them up. They're great for the podcast, great for the kids.
Great for the kids.
Oh yeah, but I can't. Those might have even come out around the like post or around the time where the camera became more popular, so you were allowed to free it up. Yeah. So basically,
So
the
like
invention
later
of the
1800s.
yeah, which we've been painting for thousands and thousands of years. So
Mixing up clay, putting some color in that bad boy.
yeah, making pots of fat ladies with big titties, man.
Who doesn't want
Some
that?
minerals
I
and
want
some
that
flowers.
I want that right now. Have you seen like one of the oldest statues in the world? It's called the fertility goddess.
Yes.
It looks like a lady at Walmart.
That's because
It's an obese woman with huge tits just flopped out.
now. I feel like they're the most fertile.
I mean,
Just-
back in the day, probably.
They have a lot of kids.
Women at
unnecessarily.
Women at Walmart.
Fat women at
They're
Walmart.
the most fertile.
Most
Yes.
fertile.
Okay, you heard that here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the thing that can we get into conspiracies? The thing that little Debbie doesn't want you to know is that those little the little brownies. The more of those brownies you eat, the bigger your uterus gets and the more fertile it gets. So it's not even fat in your body. It's just a giant uterus.
Is it from the babies or the cancer?
It's from both. You see, that's what that's what big little Debbie doesn't
The
want you to know.
cancerous-
Big little Debbie.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the cancerous babies.
Yes.
Cancer's baby.
The uterus gets huge.
Okay,
Your
so
uterus gets ginormous.
I want to talk.